Good Friday afternoon, everyone. Here we are again with our latest video update on Tropical Storm Son-Tinh, which is now moving across the South China Sea away from the Philippines and away from the Philippine area of responsibility. It was last located approximately 720 kilometers west of Manila here in the Philippines, or about 570 kilometers east of the coast of Vietnam. Maximum sustained winds have now increased to 100 kilometers per hour with gusts of up to 150 kilometers per hour. According to GMA, making this system a severe tropical storm. It is currently moving westward at 20 kilometers per hour. Now, looking at the latest visible satellite image here, you can see the system definitely organizing and looking much better compared to yesterday when it was moving across the Philippine Islands. Obviously, it has recovered as it is now moving across the open waters here. You can see a very symmetrical look of the system, and looking at the infrared image, you can see very strong convective activity here as well. Very symmetrical, very organized system. And just like yesterday when we've noted that strong convective blob that has formed when the system was still moving off of the coast of Mindoro, and we know thereafter the system did intensify overnight as we were expecting. Right now we are starting to see yet another strong convective blob forming right near the center of circulation, which could indicate the system is undergoing another round of intensification, perhaps even becoming a typhoon by tomorrow morning. And that is not out of the just yet, as you'll see later. But again, you can see pretty good poleward outflow overall. We haven't seen as much of dry air entrainment, and due to that, also the weak wind shear and also warm sea surface temperatures, there aren't really any significant factors that would bar this system from intensifying further. So definitely has a pretty good chance of becoming a typhoon in the next 24 to 48 hours. And as far as the microwave image here, you can see the system again showing that good convective banding, perhaps some sort of an eye wall starting to form now. You can see the eastern part of that beginning to become much more established here in the microwave image. We will probably see this continue to intensify overnight. Now, in terms of the forecast track here, Tropical Storm Son-Tinh will continue to move west, generally west-northwestward across South China Sea, perhaps making landfall in northern Vietnam by as early as Sunday morning, or perhaps as early as Saturday evening, depending on the speed of this system, staying perhaps 150 kilometers south of Hanoi, also passing south of Hainan Island, but still likely to bring widespread rains and strong winds across the southern coast and even into much of Vietnam, Laos, and parts of Indochina and even southwestern China as we move into the next 2 to 3 days. Now, looking at the forecast agencies, beginning with the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, and again showing you generally west-northwestward turn, perhaps becoming a typhoon by as early as tomorrow morning, Saturday here. In fact, Joint Typhoon Warning Center is forecasting this to become a Category 2 typhoon as we move into Saturday afternoon here, passing again south of Hainan, perhaps making landfall here across the northern coast of Vietnam, south of Hanoi, as a weakening typhoon, perhaps rapidly weakening to a tropical storm and tropical depression as we move into Sunday. Will likely stay within the northern part of Vietnam for at least 2 days here, so likely going to be bringing some torrential amounts of rainfall across this region in the next 2 to 3 days. So something definitely keep in mind, even though the system will be weakening at this point. Finally, we have the Japan Meteorological Agency's forecast, and is showing a nearly a similar track here with the Joint Typhoon Warning Center of a track between Vietnam and Hainan in the next 24 hours. And Japan Meteorological Agency, something to note here is that they are also expecting this to become a typhoon now, upping that intensity forecast, just like Joint Typhoon Warning Center expected to peak somewhere around 130 kilometers per hour. So it's definitely a very strong Category 1 typhoon. And even though tropical storm or not, typhoon or not, will still again gonna be bringing lots of rainfall across this region, as we've already seen in the Philippines. And take note, when it was moving across the Philippines, it was moving pretty quickly, around 30 kilometers per hour. By this time, when it makes landfall here in Vietnam, expect Son-Tinh to slow down somewhat, perhaps adding to the factors of high rainfall amounts in this region. So not only the strong winds and the rough waves that will be brought here. Obviously, the more significant impacts, I would say, would be the large rainfall amounts for much of Indochina in the next few days. That is that with Son-Tinh. I just want to quickly update you here with what's going on. The Atlantic Basin is still watching here. Hurricane Sandy now moving east of Florida and is weakening to a Category 1 hurricane. It is somewhat starting to lose tropical cyclone characteristic here as it moves northward across the Atlantic Ocean. You can see some cirrus clouds moving across eastern parts of Florida, bringing torrential rains as well here across Miami and parts of eastern Florida, and even wave heights of as high as 8 feet across the portions of eastern Florida. The system will continue to move northward, and you can definitely see this front moving across the middle part of the United States, bringing snow actually across the northern part of the Midwest here in the Twin Cities. Now this front, along with Hurricane Sandy, is forecast what we call phase in the next 24 to 48 hours, and when that happens, it will yank Sandy back to the northwest, perhaps making landfall here along the northeastern coast of the United States, perhaps here along the Delmarva coast, perhaps farther north into Long Island here in New York, or perhaps even Massachusetts. So definitely something definitely keep in mind as we move into the next few days, and computer models are starting to latch onto that idea of converging on a pretty good solution now. Still some uncertainties on where the exact landfall point is, but definitely a very menacing forecast here from the computer models, and as a pretty strong cyclone at that. Perhaps hurricane sustained winds will be likely across the coast here, and even storm surge, definitely a big factor, combined with the astronomical high tides, which will be brought by the lunar phases when we go into Sunday and Monday. So definitely a very serious threat here across the eastern part of the United States. And here is the latest official forecast from the National Hurricane Center, again bringing Sandy generally northeastward, and then by Monday we expect that phase to occur, so it will yank Sandy back to the northwest, perhaps making landfall here according to NHC, perhaps making landfall here either in Delaware, perhaps in southern New Jersey by Tuesday early morning eastern United States time. So a very menacing, very serious and very potent system will likely impact parts of the northeastern coast of the United States as we move into the early part of next week. For more information and updates on the system and anything happening here in the Atlantic Basin, you can check out our affiliate 28storms.com. They're also giving up in-depth video updates and even live updates on this storm as it moves across the Atlantic Basin, again perhaps threatening to impact the United States in the next few days. That is all for right now. Continue to check out the official links here across the Western Pacific Basin. Definitely keep an eye out on Tropical Storm Son-Tinh, which could become a typhoon anytime soon, likely to bring heavy rains and stormy conditions across Vietnam. Stay safe, guys.